Today I want to talk to you about fear because what's happening worldwide is very confusing and it's creating an atmosphere that people have got to become very, very aware of what is happening, what they're thinking, how they're reacting to it, and begin to self-examine in every way possible. Fear is a mechanism that is used by people who wish to control other people. If they put you in a state of fear, they can control you very, very easily. And the reason is in part because you're not thinking the same. Your physiology of your body is completely changed. You have a more rapid heartbeat, you are looking differently, your eyes are a little more dilated, and you're thinking about surviving, not able to really think rationally or reasonably. So fear is not a good thing to come into contact with or to allow to have people put that on you. And what's happening today is there's a lot of fear out there. There's a lot of fear porn out there. And I'll tell you what, I'm really getting tired of it. There's absolutely no need for what's going on. There's no need to fear this virus that's going around other than just being sensible. And I want to explain to you, and I want you to take in some of the things that we've talked about before in the series, and I want you to think really carefully about what is it that is so different about this than any other flu virus that we've had or epidemic that they have put on us, like SARS or AIDS or anything else. There has never been a total shutdown of a nation. Now I'm going to explain to you a little bit, and it may be a little uncomfortable for some of you, but if you want to make it through this, you're going to have to really look at yourself, and you're going to have to get into your empowerment and deal with the emotions that come up, or you're not going to make it. You just won't make it through it. So how do they do this? How is this different how is this virus different? Well, first of all, there's a lot of stories going around. There's a lot of lies about the birth of it. There's a lot of lies about what's happening. And the reaction to this is insane. It's absolutely insane. The lies have been numerous. The numbers of death for this have been altered. There's doctors out there, you can find them online, and in the description box below, I'm going to work to get as many links posted that you can also check, so you can check me out and you can begin to think on your own and understand this stuff better. But the death numbers are not the actual death numbers. What has been happening is we have a group of people who want to disempower humanity, forcing doctors to change the death certificates. Now, people die every day. People die of the flu every day, every season. And they usually are writing the death certificate as cause of death. But what they asked these doctors, or demanded of these doctors, is that if a person had been flattened by a truck, but somebody walked by with coronavirus, they were to put on the death certificate that this was a coronavirus death. Now, that's a little exaggerated the way I said it, but if they're dying of another disease that they've had for a long time, they're telling them to put on the death certificate corona. So right there we have a fraud. So when people are getting fearful of that, if you're not going to step into knowledge and get understanding and use discernment and listen carefully to what people are saying, guess what? You're going to take that hook and you're going to swallow it hook, line, and sinker. And you're going to allow fear to step in. Then you're going to start running around and getting into panic. What's panic? It's when you go down to the grocery store and you pile in 10 boxes of toilet paper and get frantic about it and begin to hoard and do all these things and become more animalistic than human, because you're operating again out of fear. You're operating out of more of a sense of survival than standing back and being rational and looking at the situation. Because we're dealing with people that are so wicked and so evil that they do not care one bit about you, but they do care about controlling you. Again, this is very serious what's happening. So I'm just really asking you to be sure that you know what you're believing in and how you're reacting to all of this. So we want to go back. Let's look at the empowerment issue, the first one that I did on the environment of being empowered or not. Because I'm going to say this, and I'm going to say this rather strongly. If you do not see the distinction and can discern what's happening here, you have got a lot to learn. You have been thrust into a total state of ignorance to this. And unfortunately, a good number of you is probably willful ignorance. I'm not saying that to demean anybody. I'm saying that because that is just what it is. It's just the truth. And I am going to be in service to truth. So if it bothers you, I would ask you to please check what it is within yourself, because you're the only one that can fix this. I can't change the truth. I just can't. But what is happening out there is we have some people that are very, very much wanting to have a structure called communism. Communism is not a good place to live. And that is where you're going to be disempowered. And then we have another group of people that are pushing for freedom, who want to see humanity empowered. And they want to see humanity finding who they are and living a life the way that we are created. Universal creative laws are that we aren't supposed to be oppressed, and yet we are. So when we are getting into this fear and we're operating in this fear and we're not being sensible about it, we are losing the battle for our empowerment. And you might think, oh, it's just me. I'm just going to be empowered. I'm not going to work on myself. But enough people who are getting that way are going to be the majority, and they're going to pull everybody in that direction. So it's really, really important to identify that fear and start to take these other things that I've talked about and begin to listen and begin to discern and begin to see what's really going on. So how do you do that? How do you do that? Well, you're going to have to get into understanding what's happening, okay? So let me tell you a little bit about what's happening. For a long time, there's been two groups of people, really, and we've seen it in other countries. Other countries all over the world have been overpowered by this sinister force. We have been told for year after year after year after year that we're going into these countries and we're taking out these bad dictators and we're going to replace them with a good, benevolent dictator. Or, excuse me, they wouldn't be a dictator, but they really are. But we're going to replace them with a person that the United States has wanted in there. And they're going to be good and they're going to be benevolent and all this kind of thing. What's really been going on is people who have been chosen by the people of the country who wanted that person to lead their country has been overthrown. They've been overthrown by this force of disempowerment. I would challenge any of you to find somebody who has come over to this country from the European nations that were under the communist bloc, the East Bloc, and ask them what communism is like to live in. Because that system is at the doorstep. The media has been overtaken. We're winning it back a little by little, but the media is telling you lies. The media is not giving you full reports about what is really happening. They absolutely hate with a passion unbelievable anything good, anything for us to win. They're trying everything possible, including spreading lies about a sickness to get people scared and in fear, because they hope that everybody will shelter in their fear, be sheltered, not come out, eat bad foods, get your system more weakened so your immunity is down lower and you have a better chance of catching the flu or this virus. Now, I'm not saying this virus doesn't exist. It's probably been manufactured in a lab, like many of them have, under the direction and money of Bill Gates. But, you know, this is just what's going on. And I feel kind of, urgent about getting this message out to you, because it's one that we don't have to do this if we look to ourselves for our empowerment. We just don't have to go this route. So another lie that's being told, and a manipulation that many people are seeing and many people know, at least in the circles that I'm moving in, but there's a huge number that don't. And that is the CDC director are not working toward your best interest. They are not. You can check their record, you can check their history, and you'll find out that they are very involved in corruption. They profit widely from vaccines. They profit a lot from the vaccinations, and they have for a long time. Now, if we go back to history and just look really briefly, Louis Pasteur is the one that came up with this germ theory, and it was around the time of, it might have been a little bit before, but basically developing a vaccine for polio. The truth about polio is that polio was declining in instances because people were getting better hygiene. They were washing their hands more, they had more indoor plumbing. So the conditions of polio were beginning to be reduced. Okay, so let's go back a little bit in history really quickly. Louis Pasteur, he brought forward the germ theory. On his deathbed, he said the germ theory was a lie. It didn't happen. In other words, we're not really spreading things from person to person. But the reason that they went with the germ theory after he died and after he had admitted this was because it was very profitable in the industry of vaccines. So now we're vaccinating children. Now they want to have, there's talk from Bill Gates that we're going to have to show our papers if we're vaccinated. We're going to have to there's talk about being swabbed if we know, so that we're sure that we don't have the virus that day. We have to have papers to get into buildings. This is communism. There is no room for personal empowerment in a situation like this. And if enough of you do not deal with your fear and stand up to this and be empowered, we are going to be gone. The whole planet will be under this control, and there will be absolutely no way out. So we have one more chance to get out of it, and it depends completely on you. Completely on you, you guys. I hate to say this, but it's up to you. It's really, really up to you. So you have got to get yourself set that you're going to identify that fear. You're going to learn about what it's all about. You're going to understand this construct, because we have two people in the CDC, and we have Tedros, who is the head of the WHO, the World Health Organization, who could care less about your health, because the agenda of this regime is for depopulation. There it is. It's depopulation. And I can show you places to have you find the protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion, printed out how they are going to do it. There's the UN Agenda 21. They mention it in there. There's the Georgia Guidestones. They mention it there. It's all over the place because these people have to tell us what they're going to do before they do it. And if we don't stand up against it, they're going to do it. We have a person in a state, a governor of a state, that's saying that nobody can buy an American flag while the coronavirus is on. What the heck is that about? You can't buy an American flag because there's a coronavirus? This is an attempt to overthrow Donald Trump and the American system and freedom and empowerment and wealth and everything for humanity. There's a movement out there that's worldwide, and that movement is people in every country are tired of the corruption in their countries. The French had been protesting for months and months and months, and guess what? Now that they're in this virus system, they've shut down the world. The people can't protest against their government anymore. Instead, they have the police checking them on the streets, and if they go out of their houses and they're not supposed to, they'll get... It's a total oppressed state, and this is what is going to come to the world if you individually do not start to look at yourself, walk to empowerment, stop hating other people who don't think like you, stop being in fear, start to learn what's going on, get yourself educated, come into knowledge, come into understanding, come into that empowerment, that beauty, that excellence that we are supposed to be. We are human beings. We are amazing creatures, and we are allowing these beasts to just shove us down. I really think we're going to win. I really think we're going to win. But I'm just begging you all to take a look at yourself and step into the space of empowerment. cross over that line and don't fear anymore, don't fear. Just get into that empowerment and become the person that you are to be. And let's remove the people who have ill will intended for the human race. I'm sorry this was heavy for you. And thank you so much for getting through all of this, those of you who stuck with it. And just get on there and do it. And we'll have a great time growing together. Thank you so much. Please like, thumbs up, subscribe, and share. And let's do this together, because where we go one, we go all. Thank you so much.